This is the Hampton Inn. The red trimmed sign, the familiar beige box. Inside, a waffle station you man yourself. Crisp sheets, light switches right where you'd expect, and that little sign that promises 100% satisfaction. Across the world, the aesthetic is pretty similar. So how did one of America's most predictable hotels become one of its most profitable? In the 1950s through the 1970s, there were two types of hotels: full service and motels. Full service offered on-site dining options in addition to other amenities, while roadside motels, the more budget-friendly choice, offered the bare essentials, a room. But by the 1980s, the average American traveler was in the market for something that better fit their needs.
There was a rise in middle-class travel, and not everyone wanted to spend the money to stay in a luxury hotel downtown with a full-service restaurant and a big indoor swimming pool. And they didn't like the other option either, which was, the roadside motel, some of which had been cutting edge in the 50s or 60s when they were first opened, but 20, 30 years later, they were a little tired. And Hampton Inn was really created to be an alternative to that.
Mark Young is an archivist at the University of Houston's Conrad N. Hilton College of Global Hospitality Leadership, home to the world's largest hospitality archive. The college is named after the Hilton Hotel's founder, which owns the Hampton Inn brand.
It was a grand dream, and the best part, it all came true. The dream began in 1983 to develop a new kind of hotel designed from the ground up with the guest in mind: clean, simple, and smart, a good night's sleep, and a free breakfast at all one reasonable price. I mean, hey, kind of says it all right there,
They figured out you could give guests the cheaper stay that they wanted without sacrificing quality by getting rid of all of this stuff that they didn't want.
In 1984, the first Hampton Inn opened in Memphis, Tennessee.
They had 100% booking, and they knew they had a good product. They realized they were going to have to sell this product to hotel developers and builders.
So how did they do it?
Hampton was the first to offer a free complimentary breakfast as a standard. They offered free coffee, a bagel, and a muffin. Yes, it will cost the hotel operator a little bit more money. The American consuming public was more on the go, and this breakfast fit that need. It took off. It proved widely popular.
You gotta love a place where you get a lot of space for not a lot of money, and the breakfast is free. At Hampton Inn, you got our guarantee.
A few years later, Hampton Inn became the first hotel chain ever to offer a 100% satisfaction guarantee on your night's stay.
Everyone criticized Hampton Inn for doing this. Oh, you're gonna lose tons of money. But it's proved to be widely successful.
It's invoked an average of about 1 to 1.5% of the time.
Shruti Gandhi Buckley is the Senior Vice President and Global Brand Head of Hampton by Hilton.
I've been in branding for a long time. We always would look and study at who are the brands that do it consistently time and time again. And the Hampton brand always came to the forefront.
But there was, of course, competition. Just 3 years after Hampton Inn opened, Marriott introduced Fairfield Inn. And in 1990, Holiday Inn followed with Holiday Inn Express. By the late 1990s, Hilton, one of the largest hotel companies in the U.S., recognized the market for middle-class travel was growing, and they wanted in.
There was now what they call segmentation within the hotel industry. And so you've got high-end properties, mid-tier properties, economy properties. And Hilton needed more of those mid-tier properties.
In 1999, Hilton bought Hampton Inn's parent company for about $4 billion. Hilton took the Hampton brand and elevated it.
The By Hilton endorsement allowed us to gain even greater credibility with the consumer marketplace in the United States.
Since Hilton's acquisition in 1999, Hampton has grown from around 1,000 hotels to over 3,000 worldwide. In comparison, one of its key competitors, Fairfield by Marriott, has around 1,300 hotels globally. Holiday Inn Express, another major competitor, has slightly more hotel properties than Hampton, but fewer total rooms, by about 1,000. But the cost and responsibility of maintaining these properties doesn't actually fall on Hilton. It falls on the franchise owners. In their current portfolio of 8,497 hotels, only 47 are owned or leased by Hilton. That's less than 1%.
Hilton owns virtually no hotels today, and it's this asset-light business model where the franchisees really fuel the growth.
I traveled extensively for work, stayed in hotels all the time, but never thought about hotels as being an attainable investment opportunity for me. Early 2000s, I stayed at the Aventura Hampton. When I checked into the hotel, the front desk person said there was free Wi-Fi and that there was complimentary breakfast in the morning. And I'm looking at her like, are you serious? Because at the time, the full-service hotels charged for those services. When I got to my room, it was beautiful, clean. I went to bed thinking, this is a great value. And I literally woke up the next morning with the epiphany that I should buy a hotel. When you put together this great brand that was a leader in the market and you layer in the strength of Hilton, it just becomes magical.
The cost of developing an 89-room Hampton starts at $15 million, not including the land. But the returns are remarkable. Last year, the average Hampton location outperformed competitors by 21% in the U.S. Hampton sold more than 90 million room nights last year, according to Bloomberg analysis. That's a few million more than its competitor Holiday Inn Express.
People are more interested in the big luxury hotels. But, this is really what the engine of Hilton's growth and profitability has been over the time.
Hilton claims that Hampton's success is due to their progressiveness. From introducing white bedding...
And Hampton was actually the first brand to go to all white beds with signified cleanliness.
...to even alarm clocks.
So easy. I mean, that's why I can see why people liked it. And it would still be in there if it wasn't for everyone has an iPhone now.
But it wasn't until the mid-2000s that Hilton claims they became the first mid-scale brand to offer free hot breakfast items to guests.
Hilton executives at the time fanned out to the big chicken farms of America and went around, looking for liquefied eggs, and they wound up with one that you mixed with milk and scrambled in the microwave. And that was the beginning of free hot breakfast.
Have you tried the strawberry waffle at Hampton yet? I like to make mine with an extra touch of sliving.
And in 2010, Hampton was the first brand to introduce make-your-own waffle stations on a large scale.
This is an industrial waffle maker. I mean, we're talking thousands and thousands of waffles. Hampton serves over 30 million large waffles in a year.
According to Hilton, that's equivalent to 12 Empire State Buildings. Today, free hot breakfasts aren't revolutionary. Most of Hampton's top competitors offer one. And when it comes to waffles, Best Western and Wyndham's La Quinta now offer those too. In fact, Hampton and many of its competitors buy waffle mix from the same supplier. And when it comes to the price of a nightly stay, Hampton's global nightly average is around $125, which is pretty comparable to the competition. So what is actually setting Hampton apart 40 years after its opening success? Surprisingly, not much.
Because they've been so good at getting dots on the map, they then have more resources to advertise themselves or to invest in new waffle flavors. This is like a technocratic process of how do you make this beige box as pleasing to your guests as possible. And then you have to keep doing it and keep making it better because every year the hotel gets a little bit older and you need to give guests another reason to come stay.
The secret of Hampton's success is simplicity and consistency. You know what you're getting.
It is an irony of the travel industry is that we travel to go places that are new, but the thing that we want when we're in those places is something that's comfortable and familiar and the same everywhere.
First of all, you don't have 20 million light switches, and they are very intentional.
Barack Obama once said that Hampton Inn is his favorite hotel brand because he knows where the light switches are.
There
That's
you
pretty
go.
easy. Okay.
So what's next for the brand of simplicity and cleanliness?
Hampton does continue to open hotels in the United States, but its biggest opportunities for growth are abroad.
More than half of Hampton locations under development are outside the U.S., with China now the brand's second biggest market. and India slated to develop 75 Hamptons in the coming years.
I asked Hilton CEO Chris Nassetta how many Hampton Inns he thinks he'll have in 20 years, and he said 9,000, which is a huge number, right? The brand was about 1,500 when Nassetta took over Hilton in 2007. 18 years later, it's doubled. Now he wants to triple it in the same amount of time. That only works if they can stick the landing on the cultural translations. You have to grow or die. The roadsides of America are littered with hotel brands that have fallen off. This is a really important part of a big company that needs to stave off obsolescence however it can. It still comes back to the waffle for me. And, now the waffle is hot magenta.